Hey everybody, this is a swamp cleaner back with another video for you. Now I know it's been a little while since my last one, and as you can see my hair has gotten very long. I am scheduled to have it cut very soon, and just like everything under the new normal, any semblance of free will is gone out the window because nothing can be done spur of the moment anymore, and everything has to be done by appointment. So that's always fun. But today, we're going to be talking about something a little bit more serious. Now, I haven't touched on what's been going on the past month, almost going on month and a half now. We're at almost 40 days of unrest, protests, riots, mostly riots, and this whole thing is morphed and changed over that entire time, and that's why I haven't covered it. But now I think it's time for me to give you my thoughts on this and what's actually the cause behind this, and I think it's something very, very simple. But I mean, to recap, I mean, it all started when George Floyd was unjustly unjustly killed. In my opinion, yes, that cop did commit second-degree murder, and he should be held accountable. And then a few days after that, there was rioting, protests all over the place, and then it snowballed again because this guy named Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed justly, in my opinion, by police in Atlanta. And people started going nuts and going crazy, rioting over that again. And then you had Seattle, the famous Chaz, Chop, whatever it was, short-lived 3 weeks of communist utopia tried and failed in Seattle, and the mayor there pretty much stood idly by, did nothing, you know, slapped her cops in the face, like insulted them, well, metaphorically doing these things. And then once finally she got a taste of protests outside of her house, she said, "All right, go and crack some skulls." And the cops just decided to do it. See, if I was the cops, I would have been like, you know what? Screw you. You can go clean it up. You go get the city council people. You go push these people out of here. We're not going to do your dirty work for you because now you need us. See, it's pathetic. In my opinion, it's very pathetic. So, and then what happened is during this time, the whole argument of which is mainly done by Black Lives Matter has been morphed and changed, and a lot of people watch are of the opinion that it's been hijacked by ideological radicals, and I think there's actual a good reason that that is true, and it's a very simple reason as well. But I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to tie that in, and that reason is a lack of education when it comes to America's history. I'm going to tie that in with these examples I'm about to show you here. First one I got is protesters pull down a statue of Hans Christian Hague outside the state capitol. Where was this? I think it's in Minnesota or Michigan somewhere. And where is it? This is his pedestal here. As you can see, it says somebody spray painted black is beautiful on there. Hans Christian Hague, Colonel, 15th Wisconsin. So it's in Wisconsin. The volunteers, born in Norway, so he was an immigrant, and he fell at Chickamauga in 1863. So he died fighting with the Union to end the Confederacy and end slavery. And actually, I do believe some backstory behind Hans Christian Hague. I did a little bit of research on him. He was with the Wisconsin anti-slavery militia before the war, and was pretty much rooting out slave traders, holders throughout Wisconsin. Pretty much like, oh, you got some slaves, you're trying to sell that? Well, we're going to stop you. So good on him. But what they did is they tore down a statue. This is his statue right here. It's been beheaded. It's been thrown into a lake and just left there because, yeah, screw that guy, because no understanding of education. None. And it's very unfortunate. It's very sad that these people do this. I mean, and that's where this whole idea that it's morphed into something else is not about Black Lives anymore. it's about America's bad, destroy America, because they started, instead of going after just Confederacy people or things like of that nature, they're going after Lincoln, who freed. They're actually trying to go after the main statue, the Emancipation statue, which is a statue that depicts him freeing the slaves, and it was bought and paid for by former slaves themselves. And the reasoning behind why they are targeting this thing, or finally what we were able to pry out of these people, is because it depicts a white person being above black people, and they don't like that. I mean, so everybody should, in their eyes, everybody should be equal. They should be standing shoulder to shoulder. I mean, well, that's just personal taste on how it looks, and it doesn't carry weight on the final product. So just get over it, I would say. So that's a very weak reason as to why they want to bring down the statue. But heck, you know what? Tear it down, right? Uh, and that ties into what I'm going to underpin all this is a lack of education. When you have these people saying that America was built on slavery, black people were used to build this country. I have my brain switches off when I hear that, because that's not an argument based in reality. Where have you learned this? Where have they learned this? They've learned it from an academia which has been heavily laced and influenced by leftist ideology since the 1970s. Since the 1960s, these people have, it's like now we're on to second and third generation professors who are just steeped in this anti-American ideology, and they're just pushing it on to everybody. For example, I was watching a Caitlyn Bennett video, one of those like another gotcha videos, like questions on the beach thing, and she's asking these painfully simple questions that anybody who can rub two brain cells together could get, like who's the first president, which war did we fight to gain our independence. I mean, literally the answer is in the question. Who is on like the $20 bill? Can you spell independence? All these things. I'm just like, my brain melts when I see these people just going, well, I don't know that, or I don't know that. I didn't pay attention in history class. And then, since they don't know any of these simple things that any American should understand, who's on Mount Rushmore, stuff like that. Oh yeah, and Mount Rushmore is just glorifying white supremacy too, by the way. They're asked these simple questions, and then they're asked, well, what do you think America was founded on? It was like, well, we know that America was built on the back of slaves, and that it was founded on slavery, and yada, and they give you just this crazy leftist narrative. But you just switch off, because if you cannot tell me who the first president of the United States was, when do we celebrate the 4th of July, or what do we celebrate on July 4th? And they can't answer then I'm sorry, but what your opinion is of this country is moot, because you have no idea. You have no idea where this country came from. They don't even know who we fought to free ourselves and become a free nation. They don't know who we were subject to. And if you and that's scary, because those people are very willing to subjugate us to their ideology. Here's one that's particularly annoying, and this one pissed off Tim Pool. Frederick Douglass statue vandalized, ripped from base, and they actually attempted to throw it into a river. Now, if anybody who doesn't know, Frederick Douglass was a stanch abolitionist. He was also African American, and he had a famous speech where he decried the hypocrisy that Americans were exuding, because slavery was still legal at that time. It was like in the 1850s when he had this speech. And he said, like, in your Constitution says all men are created equal. Why don't you live up to that and stop the slavery? And people are like, oh, that's pretty spicy. For them, that was actually pretty spicy. That's edgy stuff. They probably tried to cancel him. I wonder. But yeah, and then that sparked debate, that sparked anger, that sparked conflict, and then the Civil War resulted from that. One of the most devastating wars for America has ever fought. I think more Americans died in the Civil War than they died in any other war. Not all any other war put together, but in any other war. Yeah, it's like 650,000 Americans died. Crazy, crazy number. But yeah, so these protesters are the same kind of people that, oh, I don't know who the first president was. Well, I'm sure they probably do know because they're screaming like, oh, screw the president, screw George Washington. But they don't, they were like several months ago or like last year when they were on the beach, they would be the same kind of person being asked these questions and give you the same answer. Duh, I don't know. I didn't pay attention in history class. And that's why we need to revamp and seriously look at the curriculum surrounding history when it comes to schooling. I mean, I don't like public schools are a mess. I don't know if we can turn those around and fix that, but I think there needs to be a hyper focused drive to get ourselves in a position where we can streamline the understanding of where this country was founded on, or where this country came from, what it was founded on, and respect those things and respect our path. Because since these people never paid attention in history, they have no respect or understanding of what history really means in itself. So they lack the concept of history, not just American history. They lack the concept of history on a grand scale. They don't give a flying fuck about at all. So if you have no understanding or concept of history, then you have no understanding or concept of where the future is going to go. You just live in the present and live in the now. So yeah, tear down the statue because it's bad, and they just go with it. There's no substance behind their words. It's all platitudes. It's all empty. It's bad. And what happens is these people that go off the rails, they get crazier and crazier and crazier and get more extreme. And then what you result in places being taken over, becoming lawless. And then in a weekend, you have 6 children over the 4th of July getting shot and killed across this country because this sense of lawlessness is spreading because people have no understanding of what this country was founded. It's the Constitution gives you your rights, but it's also with responsibilities. There's law and order, and you need to adhere that to keep our society moving forward, to keep it going. And if you just say, nah, abolish the police because there's an epidemic of black oppression, false narrative. I'm sorry, it's a false narrative. Like, black people are not oppressed. Black people are not oppressed in this country. And that narrative, again, that 400 years of slavery is a straight up false narrative because, again, lack of understanding, lack of education when it comes to the history of this country. They're just told it, spun from the leftist ideology that's coming out of the academia because their professor said so, their teacher said so. I was watching, like I said, this Caitlyn Bennett video where this one in the lowball asked the silly questions. The one said, this one girl says she's a teacher or like a teacher's assistant, but she says, I don't teach my kids the curriculum. I teach them about like America's racism, like history of slavery, and Black Lives Matter. So she's not teaching them anything about anything that's important for practical use. She's feeding them this leftist ideological indoctrination swill, this nasty snake oil, which is going to infect these kids. And then you have these cringy, I don't know if I can I can't pull it up here, but these 2 girls do a TikTok where they parody "and I'm proud to be an American," to where they're like, I'm ashamed to be an American because of slavery and all the oppression, and F Donald Trump and F America. And I'm just, it's because you don't fucking understand. You didn't pay attention in school, and we're just gonna repeat the same stuff if we just let it get out of hand. And it's getting out of hand. Kids are dying, okay? You got... Look at these kids. Come on, man. Black Lives Matter? Come on. See, this is... I don't know what to say. This is stupid. There's so many contradictions going on here. I can barely point it out. I don't know where to start. It's frustrating. I'm just letting it out here. This is just raw emotion what's going on here. I'm done with this. This has got to stop. The subverting of the narrative of Black Lives Matter to say that, oh, just American history is racist, tear it all down, and then ignoring actual black lives that are getting that are getting killed, and other black lives that are getting affected, because there's no one on the streets to have law and order. The cops have been demoralized. They've been told to leave. No one likes you. And this is what's happening. And people are ignoring this. So there's cognitive dissonance going on here to the highest degree. Oh man, I think I'm gonna just leave there because I'm done. I just don't know what else to say. Get educated, America. Don't say, oh, history's boring, I don't want to pay attention. No. You got to pay attention. Because people have a lack of respect for the foundation of the country. So then they use and abuse their rights, go stand around a protest site for weeks on end with their guns, which is legal to do. So like I said, taking advantage of their rights. And then this happens. Kids get shot and killed for no reason. A 16-year-old was gunned down at the Chaz place, his car was apparently riddled with bullets, and he was riddled with bullets too. And sickest thing of all, he was beaten finally to death at the end. Yes, it's kind of graphic. The guy at the end was like, oh, you're still alive, and then kind of beat him up a bit as he was dying. That's very graphic. I don't care if YouTube cancels this video, but I mean, it has to be said. This is absolutely outrageous. And you know what? There's, if anything, the pushback to this narrative is amazing. Because case in point, I was watching the videos from LA on the night of July 4th when they said, oh, don't be shooting off fireworks, you get a $10,000 fine. The entire city, as far as the horizon, because the entire LA area is not just the main downtown, but its suburbia spreads as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see, fireworks, small ones, huge ones. It was amazing. And even the guy in the helicopter was like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't see all this before. But that shows there is a strong love for this country too. It's just those people are just right now just keeping their heads down for some reason. It's time to actually speak out as loud as those fireworks were popping off. You need to get up and say, no, America is a great country. We've come so far. We've done so much and changed for the better. To just use and abuse it by taking our history and using it as a cudgel and bashing ourselves over the head with it to say America bad. It's disgusting. And then also not using it to wielding the cudgel, and also not understanding it either, not understanding the power of the history of this country. Because America is a success story, but our history is still being written. So I mean, why throw it all away? We've done so much. We've come so far. Martin Luther King said we need to judge ourselves not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And the content of the character of the people on the left sucks. Like they're vile, they're acting vile, they're acting despicable, underhanded, and it's so disingenuous because they act on the guise of being moralistic. and they say, "Oh, we're the right one. We're the just." That's tyranny. They want to rule with an iron fist, everybody. So I mean, if we allow this continue, unfortunately, more kids, more people are going to be victims to this ideology. And if we're not careful, the entire country will. So with that, I'm going to call this one a video. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. And I'll see you guys soon. Alright, this has been the Swamp Cleaner. Peace.